Let me tell you, thank you very much, Sunil Sarji. He has dealt with very, very important aspects regarding the redevelopment of this thing. But normally, the learned speakers are there who are specialists on the topic of today's discussion. Having practice in the cooperative laws, like Kulkarni said, for more than, I started my practice in 82 and I am dealing with these issues. So we know a lot of issues are there. People rush to the police station. That topic is irrelevant. People don't go to the police station when the issue is relevant. So these are the various aspects. Friend, bylaw 174 specifically speaks what should go to the local police station. In bylaw 174, there are 7 different authorities. One of the authorities is the local police station. And there they have to take those issues which have been described in your bylaw under bylaw 174. So I will now request sir to take over and enlighten the participants.
Good morning, everyone. First and foremost, I would like to thank Rotary Club for this wonderful commitment towards society, and I also thank Mr. Ramesh Prabhu for giving me this opportunity to get connected with this wonderful team. I only request the audience not to get confused with my appearance with Advocate Sudhar's appearance. He is more senior and knowledgeable. So I am just trying to make some submissions based on my limited practice and exposure towards society. Society in general, whether it is a public or a cooperative society, it's ever changing, right? So our families, our own approach towards the whole subject, whether it is relating to personal, professional, and the way in which we are living, it's very fast changing, right? So earlier, when we used to fight, there used to be noise around the building. So now we are fighting in a silent mode. That is, you send me a message, I will reply. So you don't know when the cop is arriving. Correct? So you need not fight with noise. Right? So the fights are happening in a silent mode, and the silent mode fights are taking violent mode. Right? So the point here is the way in which we are approaching towards the society is the most important aspect. The lawmakers have assumed and presumed certain things when they made certain laws, and there is a lot of gap here, because the whole idea is, as we were just discussing about 10 o'clock, whether one law for entire Maharashtra is going to take care of these things. In my opinion, absolutely no, because the society is different, the way in which we are living is different, and most importantly, how we are completely, diversified. What kind of transactions we are getting into? What kind of, behavioral metrics which is ruling us day by day? What type of people visiting? For example, if you are having a cooperative society in Kolhapur, whether so many people are entering your building now? No. So maybe 10-20%. So the moment you have so many people visiting your building, you have so many questions. So every question is going to trace back to your bylaws and your Cooperative Societies Act and your adopted and amended bylaws. Then you will blame secretary, you will blame chairman, and so many other things. Coming back to today's topic, the role of police and society. When we say society, first and foremost, we claim that you are IS, I am IPS, I am CA, I am advocate, I am doctor, I am a businessman, I am a software engineer. But first and foremost, let me ask a question to every learned person. Whether you have time to know law, whether you have time to know law, whether you have time to understand what are your legal rights, whether you are aware of your consequential rights, whether you are aware how to protect yourself. You have time for everything. You have weekends, you have holidays, you have vacation. So one humble request to every citizen is have some percentage of time to know your rights and know your law. At least which are affecting you, which are most relevant. As we were discussing, the deed writing or the deal writing, there is a difference. Why I am saying this, whether there is a police involved here? Yes, of course. If you do not write correct deed, you will be taking out certain restrictions. So when you invest money in your property, in your flat, in your own belongings, you should first of all understand your contents of the document, as Sunil sir rightly pointed out very comprehensively. What are we writing in a document is most important. And who's writing it? A person with the computer formats is copy pasting somebody's deeds and your contents, and he's going to mess up. See, till there is a cause of action, till there is a problem, you are not going to even revisit it. Correct? Certain clauses in your agreement are going to be pointed out when you want to sell, gift, or partition, or when you get divorced. Correct? So that time you realize that this is drafted by a person who has charged only 5,000 rupees. So now to correct what? You will have to spend 5 lakh rupees. You have to spend 5 years. Therefore, you need to allocate some time to understand which is the document you are signing. You need to put questions. You need to actually get on to conference with your advocate, your own deed writer. You need to ask valid questions because the life is full of complication. Right? Like what are the possible actions you are going to initiate against whom or what? As rightly pointed out, in the bylaw there are various types of complaints or disputes to be raised before so and so authorities. Whether they are only mere segregation of roles and responsibilities, you go here and there like traffic police, like go left, go right or no entry. No. There are specific jurisdictions created under the law. There are specific jurisdictions. But whether the concerned officer who is sitting on those respective chairs is also trained. No. Election petitions are entertained by the registrars. After years, you will say, no, I don't have a jurisdiction. So don't accept that document. So there is an element of training. So the self-training for the what we call citizens, that I should know my rights, I should know my consequences, I should know my cost of negligence and ignorance. Like merely by saying ignorance of law is no excuse, it takes your life. Today you come to court for a small reason, people spend half of their time, money, then they blame lawyers and courts. No. Therefore, when it comes to your society, you need to understand what is civil, what is criminal. The moment you hit police station, the moment you go to the police station, let us be very responsible towards approach. Merely going to police station with some papers, some allegations, why we should consume their time? There is a need to relook into all these things, even by the cooperative department, cooperative minister, chief minister. See, today, in my opinion, it should be made mandatory. A local concerned senior PI or ACP or DCP should give consent whether a building should be constructed here or not. Because please understand, you have 2 vehicles, 3 ladies police or 5 gents or some bullet, beat marshals, but you are coming up with a 40-story building. The same infrastructure, same, but you need a fire department NOC. Fire is occasional, theft is routine. See, why police or commissioner should not interfere in this matter? The point here is, when you cannot administer, police department is not a mere formality. They are supposed to, but they are effectively doing their job. Let us give a very big hand for them. That's honest. Because it's not a simple road. As and when I go to police station, it's impossible for any human being to work in police department. They are absorbing the highest level of pressure with least support. There is nothing for them to download their stress. Nobody is there to understand. I am slightly deviating for a minute. When I was going on the Eastern Express Highway, you expect them to load their first trip. You expect them to protect you. What is their logo emblem? It talks about Sadarakshan hai, color nigra hai, right? So सज्जनों का protection करना है, दुष्टों का नाम करना है, या तो निग्रह करना है. So how they are going to do it? You need to enable that. For example, when you need an air-conditioned car, you need to ensure that it is switched on well in advance before the owner comes in. There are some basic parameters you need to service and you need to provide certain things. For recruitment of police, people are sleeping on the footpath. What kind of motivation? Therefore, coming to the core point of today, the point is when you are expecting them to serve you, when you are expecting them to, honor the commitment towards their own duty, you need to enable them. Suppose in a society where you have 2 or 3 riders across the police station, whether they are well trained, whether they are sufficient in number, as a society, how many people have written to the Home Minister that please give me one more police station, give me one more rider? I have covered in my presentation. In Co-operative, it happened that in one of the society, when Commissioner Pandey was there, he has mentioned that in every police station there will be a dedicated officer for entertaining complaints of society. All that is fine, but whether you have recruitment in place, whether there is a public opinion collected. See, today you are into so much of electronic connect with the citizens. You have police excellent website. I remember during Mr. Hayar's time, when FIR used to be registered within an hour, police jeep used to come. That was the effectiveness. But today, it's not the end of the role of a citizen to blame the system. It is easy to blame the system, but sit on their chair for a minute, you will resign and go. It's very difficult. Therefore, first and foremost thing is, like that's why we were discussing, there is a role of federation here. It's not a mere taking 0.10% of your collections and deposit in the government's account. Who monitors all this? Therefore, we need to be extremely vigilant about these things, because ultimately, when you allow system to go against you impliedly without your knowledge, no system will protect you because you have allowed it to go against you. Correct? So the inefficiency is growing in front of your eyes. Therefore, you are responsible, not any Home Minister or any police commissioner. It's sorry. You have to point out. Now, this wonderful forum, irrespective of whether 100 are here or 1000 are here, you are into electronic mode. The event is much appreciated in the days to come. It's a forum to connect the system, administration, and the judiciary, lawmakers, and also law enforcers and protectors like police. Let's go to next slide. Now, when I am saying what are the points to be concerned, points concerning with police, why these points are concerned with police? You may say that I am living in a society, which is a cooperative society. I have an agreement, and I have my own secretary, my own treasurer, my own office bearers. How I am going to really involve police and for which matters? The knowledge of jurisdiction, the knowledge of where to approach for which grievance or complaint is absolutely necessary. Therefore, the Maharashtra Co-operative Society Act and the related bylaws categorically mention for which type of cases, complaints we need to approach the police station. The first is nuisance carried by unauthorized user of the flat, shop, parking slot, open space in the society by the members, builder, occupants, or any other persons. What is most important here is the nuisance. The word nuisance and also unauthorized user. So, unauthorized user means what? In every society, it is expected from the committee to have some local rules that when you want to conduct any sort of repairs and maintenance, you need to deposit some amount to ensure that there is no nuisance created to others, damage created to others. So, when you sit in next AGM, make such rules. Why I am highlighting this? These are the cases where if you have these kind of systems in place, you will never go to police station. It is also our responsibility not to go to court, not to go to police station. May the system is there, don't go and just overburden. So there are possibilities of curbing these kind of nuisances by making proper regulations and rules and displaying certain notices. Like whenever there is an unauthorized user, who is an unauthorized user? See, let us spend more time on this. I am not just here to read the slides. The point here is why there is an unauthorized user, because again there is a gap in your local bylaws. Your consecutive committees, previous committees have not really paid attention towards it, because we treat this particular AGM as an occasion to greet everybody, meet everybody. How are you? You are in US, you are in London, you have come back, which perfume? Okay, have pani puri or pav bhaji and go home. No. When you miss the opportunity to make a law or a rule for your own society, it's going to come to you only after 1 year. So till then 1 year, you are going to postpone the suffering, right? The opportunity to make a regulation for yourself is lost because half of the people are upset, half of the people just say किधर side करना है बताओ कर देंगे. So no. So therefore, unauthorized user you should curb by making a local rule. And if there is an unauthorized user, why you may say no sir, please come to my society. I will show you we have all the rules. Why you have unauthorized person? दादागिरी. Somebody will say जो करना है करो, मैं आ जाऊँगा. Correct. I am a person with lot of contacts. I have muscle power. I am myself with a bodybuilder. So therefore, you have to curb these practices. You have a rule, but still unauthorized user is occupied, and he is creating nuisance. रात को कभी भी आएगा, किसी को भी लेके आएगा. Okay, so he will throw bottles here and there. Somebody will fall from the roof. Somebody will, create noise. They will not respect your society secretary, your rules, regulations displayed in spite of being educated persons. They will beat your security. Then you have to involve police. You have to involve police. So such matters you are bound to refer to police station. So now here there are two components. One is whether it is supposed to be done by your committee or you have to do on your own. So there are certain personal matters. Suppose if the matter is between an unauthorized occupant of the flat and yourself, then you should do it in your individual capacity. If something happens to the security guard, something happens to the common assets of the society, or overall members, in terms of if somebody is creating some nuisance in the common area of passage, then definitely the society's committee has to move their application before the police station, call on 100 number or even register a complaint and take further action. Next is threatening assault by or to the members of the society and official body. Threatening. For example, I have not cleared my dues. I want to sell my flat. Matter is in family court. You want to you want to deny maintenance to your wife. You will want to just say that I will just go and ensure that now the secretary is not giving no objection, I will see. Right? So then he will go and just threaten the secretary. Secretary will say, look, there is a letter from your wife, she has taken objection. So please take a NOC from her. No, you are not supposed to get into my family matter. So then he will say, then in this entire unnecessary conversation, unnecessary words are being used. So when you use unnecessary words, you will show your muscle power, I will show my muscle power, and again some threatening will happen. So now what happens? When you threaten, use of some bad words. Correct? So bad words are leading to bad words are leading to fights. Just the moment you I think I will just no, I just so when you ask for a NOC, the secretary will not give you because he is right in denying. Then you will use some bad words. Then you will assault him because you are already in trouble. You want to just get rid of this property. So such matters have to be referred to police station, right? Then there are some instances you are getting into redevelopment agreement, related discussions. Society secretary somewhere hand in glove with the builder. He will take money from the builder. He will take certain favors. He will take one or two more parking lots. He will take a favorite flat which is having a lot of ventilation and good air and good vastu. So all these components. Then he will try to ensure that he manipulates certain contents of the plan. So he will give NOC behind the back. One approved plan, amended plan he will sign. And then some corpus funds also he will manipulate. So based on that, you will put a oral question to in the open forum, that is during the AGM or SGM. Then there will be exchange of words. Then if something happens, then assault. You hit him and he will hit you back. And then again, roll of police. So therefore, under these circumstances, wherein there was no intention of, even spelling any sort of criminality, the situations arising out of our common interactions during the members to members, society to members, society and members, old society and new society committee members and your own family members, you have your own common share. Society is insisting for a public advertisement, society is insisting for certain things. The moment you exceed the limit, why you are asking this document? If you use bad word, definitely there is a clause which says that you should definitely approach for the protection of yourself as an office bearer. Sometimes office bearers are wrong. They try to put unusual demand. For example, say 25,000 rupees is the maximum cap. So he will say your father has purchased a property for 25,000 rupees. Now it is fetching 5 crore rupees, give me 5 lakh rupees. Then you have to register unnecessary demand of money and other provisions. So therefore, these are the basic parameters on the basis of which we are guided by the bylaws. Based on this, you can make some local rules. Okay. So based on that, most importantly, the bylaw is the adopted child of a clerk appointed by the society. This is the problem. The bylaw is not actually read by anyone. It should be the seriousness which is attributed to the visitor's diary is not even given to the bylaw. Even that much importance. Therefore, it's a request to ensure that these matters are debated by way of a separate agenda point in the AG. Now, any other like matters which fall within the jurisdiction of police. What are the like matters? Like you have general criminal activities. Like you have a maid working in your flat, if there is a theft, if there is a misbehavior, if there is a any sort of such situation which is connected. Because see, according to me, there is hardly any difference what police does outside your campus, outside your building or inside your building. These are the attempts made by the housing department and also the lawmakers, including the federation, to ensure that to guide the members which are the typical scenarios and also type of the complaints and grievances which come within the ambit of police. Because there is nothing in law which restricts police to say that no, this has happened within the society, I am not an administrator. So wherever there is a protection of law and order which is required, be it within the campus, within the society or outside, it is well within the jurisdiction of police. So any other like matters if I have to highlight, if there is a death of a worker. So it happened like sometimes you see in the newspapers, construction worker. So you are an office bearer. You are an office bearer. Please understand, as an office bearer, you are bound by these things. You have to ensure. It's not a post. It's an honorary post. The honor comes with responsibility. Honor comes with your own personal commitment, your own precautions. You need to devote time. Because I will not name one person. He was the honorary chairman of one employee trust. During COVID, he was arrested for the fraud committed by treasurer and his own chartered account. So during COVID, just about 10 days prior to that, he was arrested and put in Taloja jail. I appeared in the Girgaon court. He was lucky to get that exemption from Supreme Court that all under trial should be released till the situation becomes normal. So why he was put behind bars? Why police came home? Because you invited them. Because you were negligent. See, blaming police, blaming advocates and judges and courts is absolutely easy. Whether you are ready to blame yourself. Who told you to not to look into your own documentation? Who told you not to look into your inter-audit reports, statutory audit reports? Who told you to not to, approach towards your society matter, your own trust matters in an equal manner like your corporates? You are exempted for everything. So only courts, police should be blamed for everything. So this is a request. Spend time on understanding what are your rights, how you are going to curb this recurrences of these instances. So now any other matter which is touching the core duties of police, definitely as a society member, connected directly or indirectly. I was giving that example, if you are a society member shifted to a redevelopment temporary accommodation, even if there is a construction work going on, you cannot say that I am just a secretary. Once I switch back to the brand new building, I will assume my powers. No. During the entire redevelopment process, you have to ensure whether the insurance is taken or not. Because what happens, if there is a death, including you will be prosecuted. Because there is an element of negligence. Now, one more instance I would like to give. One senior citizen lady from Vasai, she was a treasurer. Her son was working for a bank, and the concerned secretary wanted to purchase her flat. He wanted to just connect both the flats. Then he made her as a treasurer. Madam, सबको एक बार तो rotation पे आना ही पड़ता है. Then more than 100 checks were misappropriated. Okay, so everything they put on that lady, and her daughter-in-law and herself used to fight every day, and they were about to get divorced. Then son and daughter-in-law said, "Let us go ahead and stay somewhere else." Then nearly 10 years, this lady was fighting this case. The government auditor filed a FIR against chairman, secretary, and treasurer, and the concerned society passed a resolution to file a dispute against only this lady. So now, when I appeared before the joint registrar, I argued that when there is a FIR against all the three office bearers, why this dispute against only this lady? So based on that, I succeeded. So the point here is the role of police and the society. If you allow the signatures to be just pushed because some treasurer has signed, some chairman has signed, some secretary has signed, no. The moment it contains your signature, all three will be behind bars if there is an investigation. Therefore, the role of police comes later. Before that, you are drafting the invitation for the police by your negligence. This is a hard fact. Therefore, the conduct has to be very clear. What is the role of police in this case? They will examine, they will record the statement, they will ask who was the treasurer, what is the allegation. Chairman will say, no, her bank, her son's bank, and the society's bank all are same. Therefore, she is responsible. Then police has to record the statement. Police has to call the son as an additional witness. They have to record the treasurer's version. Then this is the role. The role of police is investigating into the crime which has taken place, suspected crime which has taken place within the society premises. What is their further role? They will have to ensure that they produce you before the magistrate based on the substance. So you will get into a lot of inconveniences like this. Therefore, the role of police, what are we understanding this from this whole conversation? Are we paying attention towards one implied thing in this entire conversation? What are we expecting from police? We are expecting them to know everything. See, let it be medicine, law, theft, building, insurance, accounts maintenance, negligence of. See, look at, I think this has to be actually a subject matter in itself for the police department at large. Because you are presuming, see, IPC will not teach them how to audit. CRPC will not teach them how to audit. Police manual will not teach them everything. Correct? So this audit trail, how the transaction is taking place. So this whole, because fortunately I am also on the panel of Institute of Chartered Accountants, I keep on confusing my audience with this kind of twists when they are getting words like this sometimes. Therefore, apart from this, general law and order, related matters and complaints. General law and order. Right? What are the general law and order? Like there are instances, some cases, आप चार अगरबत्ती ज्यादा लगाते हैं तो भी पुलिस को मारते धुआं. People have no patience. This is a fact. Somebody landing from foreign country at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, दरवाजा का भी आवाज आता है. Then you use bad words because we don't really respect senior citizens. Big bags are there. Nobody is, instead of helping them, because see where the society is moving. I think somewhere we need to be more patient. We need to respect elders and the neighbors and senior citizens and develop that culture. For that, what is most important is interaction. Interaction. So if we make use of the AGM as a forum to reconnect everybody, because ultimately what is where you are residing, we don't really bother much about the word cooperative. Sarkar, we need to cooperate with each other. There is no scope for fighting. So you need to definitely get on to these things. And now you need to cooperate with police also. Why you need to cooperate with police? You need to maintain proper records. You need to maintain proper returns, proper database, proper agreement copies, proper Aadhaar cards, whereabouts, contractors, from which place they are coming, what are their previous records, CCTVs, role of police. So I will cover again that in subsequent slides. Now, slides. theft and cooperative housing society. These three office bearers, secretary, treasurer and chairman, for everything they are responsible. वो तो परमात्मा का अंश है, वो बैंक में मैनेजर है, चेयरमैन, सेक्रेटरी, हर फ्लैट में हर टाइम हर चीज सोसाइटी का सेक्रेटरी को ही देखता है. No, it is not like that. Every member is responsible. You are a voter, you have elected them, you have selected them, but that does not mean that they are everything and they are responsible for everything. So therefore, collective intervention has to be there. When there is a theft, पता नहीं secretary को पूछो. It should not be the approach. When CCTV is there, it is your bounden duty as a member to give your pen drive of your personal camera, personal archives. So the role of police is involved when there is a theft within the police, within the larger premises of the society, and also in your private premises. So there is a multiple jurisdiction here. Your role changes the moment that particular criminal walks out of your flat, gets into somebody. Three jurisdictions are created. One is common area, other person, and your own flat. So three different types of material is required. Okay, so evidence is so it's a big pain. Therefore, in a cooperative society, it is your bounden duty to cooperate in maintaining your order. Cooperate means need not be there is an FIR and then you start doing all these things. Even if you maintain everything in order, police will definitely give you result. In one of the jeweler shop in Murud East, there was a theft. Nearly more than 1.2 or 1.5 crore rupees worth, articles were stolen, gold entire thing. Then what was the negligence? He had a window AC. Why you want window AC in this Japan? When you are a jeweler, you have so many doors open. Oh, people are negligent. Then blame who? Police. They appeared, I told him that, see, you are going to recover at least 80%. Because he very vigilantly maintained a good CCTV and the 70 to 80% articles were recovered from Chhattisgarh. Okay, so the system is working, but some enablers are missing. If they are in place, definitely we will progress. Apart from this, we are also responsible. The role of police, unauthorized contractors at CHS. किसी ने 5 रुपया कम कोट किया, बोला वो कहाँ है, उसका वर्कर कौन है, whether he is on bail or criminal, or already 10 चोरी का bail पे है, he may be a surety in 100 matters, he may be a professional criminal. Just engage him because he is quoting less, and then you will go home, out of home, you will just 1 or 2 days they will behave properly, then they will cheat the senior citizens, they will do a recce of your building, and then they will give shape to a larger thought. Unauthorized dealing with assets, cash by the office. Somebody will say that I will just sign it. Maybe pakada jayega to dekhte. So this kind of matters will definitely fall within the ambit of police. Documentation related complaints, like somewhere signature is missing, somewhere 1 signature, somewhere 5 signatures, resolution talks something, and your agreements are talking something. Witnesses before the registrar is totally different. There is no correlation. Authorized person is different. Authorized person is executing power of attorney. Power of attorney is signing something. See, once you are a criminal, no, it is like a sanitizer. So nothing happens. It's like a third dose. So once you have some FIR, some punishments, and once you are out on some regular trial is going on, then you will do 10 other wrongs. Therefore, we have to be extremely careful. The documentation related complaints, it takes 10 years. It takes 10 minutes to be diligent. To correct that error which has caused in 10 minutes, it takes 10 years and more than that. Who knows? Who cares? Who cares? Appeals are pending on 2005, 2007 in High Court, trial courts, city civil court. You will say this signature is fine, that signature is missing, he is not fine, he is not fine. This signature is not fine, go signature. When you are sitting in the AGM, verify these records, spend 10,000 rupees. Go to a proper consultant, go to a very highly qualified solicitor. These are the things to be learned from the historical crimes which gets either reported in the paper or in the judgments. Then frauds, cheating and cooperative society. कौन पकड़ेगा? कौन देखेगा? इसके पास आएगा. Okay, he is secretary, he is treasurer. No, please understand. Once your society gets a bad name, that the funds of this society is not managed properly, funds are not managed properly, and it is not happening properly. There is a FIR against chairman, secretary. Nobody will buy our flat. See, it's a damage to your own title deed indirectly. So therefore, you have to be extremely careful. As far as the frauds and cheating are concerned, you should curb these things at the initial phase itself. You should curb all these things at the initial phase itself. And religious matters. How police and religious matters within the society are concerned? Yes, of course. Like in one of the suburbs, I got to know that Bakri. So you want to celebrate in your way, I want to celebrate in my way. I will fight with you, you will disturb my festival, I will disturb your festival. Then immediately police. Okay, so they have a larger role in ensuring that everything goes right. Okay, so though you are allowed to stay in one building, the law and order has to be protected by a society. That is through the police. Now, this is most important. This is actually not this is the most important portion which police department is doing but not highlighting. They are spending a lot of time on this, but they are not highlighting because this is very important. In judiciary, there is a proper process of displaying how many matters we have resolved through arbitration, mediation, and alternate dispute resolution mechanism. But unfortunately, this number, which is definitely there in the records of police, or they have to definitely work out some mechanism wherein such disputes which are resolved by the police station, if it is reported, definitely the department will get higher recognition. What is this police mediation at CHS? Just now I have religious matter. Correct? Religious matters, small things, they call some senior PI will call you inside, the other person, chodo aap inta karo. This is a mediation. See, police is not here to punish you. They are here to serve you in one manner. They are here to curb you in one manner. They are here to deter also in some manner. They are having a mixed role. So mediation by police at the cooperative society is actually working very nicely. Like in my society, what happened? There was an instance, somebody wanted to go for a illegal construction. So I went to police station. I am a chairman. I went to police station and I said, please stop this. Then police called all the relevant parties. Aapka dikhao, ye dikhao. See, that is mediation. See, generally what happens, most of the time, many police officers are doing this, but it is not getting reported to the public at large. That has to be done. So mediation between husband and wife, non-receipt of maintenance. Many matters are getting cured and resolved at the police station, but that is not getting published. This is most important role. Here what happens, as far as the cooperative society is concerned, the first words, the alphabet C, the cooperate. You have to cooperate with the police. When they are showing interest in, mediation and resolving your dispute. Take it from me. Let the law say anything, let the judgment say anything. But if police starts recording FIR on every allegation, take one into, if there are 2 FIRs today, it will be 200 FIRs. So the elimination of FIRs registration is happening. Maybe you may have your own observations, but definitely mediation at the police station is definitely helping the system. And even cooperative societies. For everything, they are not instigating you to agree with the situation. In addition, what we are looking for, how we are generally feeling a need, whether we need any dedicated help to cooperative society for more safety. CCTV and related integration. See, this word integration is most important. So today you have CCTV. Whether the CCTV is working properly or not, whether there is a consolidation of this data which is happening or not, or you are just leaving it to the concerned society, secretary, chairman who don't understand what is technology, whether they are renewing the AFC or not. So integration is most important. So this kind of movement of people, criminal can be tracked. Enhanced interaction. Police and citizen sabas almost missing. Like people have to just get on to this kind of interactive sessions and develop trust and faith by frequent interaction and also frequent parades. Like cooperative societies should feel that the system is in place. So some of these kind of initiatives, and in addition to that, more web-based interaction. That is, police plus citizen initiatives, register your complaints, interact, give your suggestions. I think we need to work on this. So suggestions to enhance police support at cooperative societies, more police stations. The citizens must write to Home Minister and Commissioner that you are giving permission to 40-50 floors, but we need more people around, more police stations and facilities around. And 100% report on crime and CHS, somewhere we need to monitor. Online access to CHS, CCTV app and activities and awareness. We need to have a proper bonding that cooperative society is with the police station. We need to enable them with whatever resources we can provide to the nearest police station. Because earlier, if you see in district places, whenever you are developing a big society, one portion of the plot is meant for government facilities, including police stations, some areas. So I think we need to definitely have here in Mumbai. So Mumbai now dedicated, every police station is having a dedicated cop for purpose of attending to cooperative society grievances. It is part of the plans of India recent news. This is how it is. And now citizens, senior citizens, as you are aware, many police officers are taking out time and helping us. We circulate for the reforms towards this direction. The number of people and number of crime, it is definitely very less, but with the aid and more recruitments and facilities, the things can definitely improve. I once again thank you very much for this great and wonderful opportunity. Thank you.